Hi, this is DarkFox127 and welcome to another Scrum Creation Kit tutorial video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to take static objects in the Creation Kit and animate them using just simply scripting. So this is going to be a scripting video, however don't worry, it's not really that much of a complicated script, and because this is going to be part of project modularity, you won't actually need to edit it at all yourself. You'll be able to pick it up and just use it in your own mod straight away pretty much. Now if you did want to do any more specific things, then you will need a little bit of scripting knowledge, but with the help of my scripting tutorial series you should be good to go. It's not too bad. So the first thing that we need to go ahead and do is not add the script just yet. I am going to go ahead and create a global variable. Here's one I made earlier. I have just named it df127g state and it's set to 0 by default. Now what I'm using this for is to keep the location known for the script as to where the lift currently is. So 0, it knows it's at the bottom, and when it changes it to 1, it knows it's at the top. Now I could use a state within the script, but I'm going to be using multiple activators, so I'm going to need an external global to store this information. So that's why I've done that. So I've gone ahead, created my global, make sure it's set to 0. And then I want to go ahead and add the script to my first activator. So I'm going to click add. And I'm going to type in translate. I've already gone ahead and created and compiled the script. So I'm going to add this in. And edit source. So I'm just going to explain roughly what this does. So don't worry, I know it looks pretty long, pretty detailed and crazy, but if we just click out for a second and go back in, all you'll be mainly doing is just filling in all the properties, and they've all got nice little helpful tooltips to let you know exactly what they do, so you don't need to worry. But if I just explain how this works, we have a ball right at the top. This is deciding how you're going to translate this, because there are two different ways we can do it. We can do it by stating specific coordinates, which is what all these float values are. And we can do it by just saying move to this specific reference. So it means that you don't need to fill too much of this in. So obviously, yep, the float properties, like I just said, sort of stating the position and the rotation of the X, Y, and Z axis. Then we've got these float properties here. You've got rotation value, you've got speed value and time. So it knows the rotation that it needs to go to or stay at, the speed that it needs to go, and the time that it actually takes to reach the top. Now this might not be a lift for you. You might be doing something different. For example, in Corinthia Tower Reborn, I use this kind of script to make the tower rise from the mountain and it just stays there. So you might want to cut some of this stuff out so that you can't actually sort of move it back down or anything. Like I say, you can change this up, edit it however you like, and cut out the stuff that you don't need. But yeah, this is very useful. I imagine a lot of people are going to be using this to move an item from one place and then back again anyway, so it's okay. So yeah, we've got all those values there. We've got our global variable that's been stated here to know what location it's currently at. We have translate refs, that's the actual object that you're going to be moving. Then we've got location ref. This is only used for the option where you want to move it to a specific reference. So this is going to be the reference that you move it to. We'll see that shortly. We've got sound property here, SFX, and we've got SFX end. I thought it'd be quite nice to add a sound effect, otherwise it seems a little bit weird when you're having a lift that's moving and you can't hear anything. So this is going to ideally be a looping sound. You've got SFX end here. This is going to be whatever plays at the end. So cut off the loop sound and then you'll want something like a big thud or a locking in sound, something along those lines. And then we've just got a simple string property here saying busy message. So this is just going to be a notification that pops up if you try and activate it before it's actually finished. So to stop this from being activated midway through moving, and I'm not entirely sure what the effects of that might be. It might just start moving it the other way, it might not. Just to make sure that you can't have the lift bouncing up and down, you're going to want to stop the player from activating this while it's moving. So for this we'll use an internal state with the script. So on initialize, when the script's first initialized, it will put it to a stationary state, so it's not moving. So we have different states here. We have state stationary, this object is currently not moving, and translation can be started. So this is when you activate it within this state, it's going to do all the movement stuff. I'll come back to that in a second. We have a different state here for moving. So when it's moving on activate, it's just going to give you that message that you're going to type in yourself in the properties. So you can say whatever you like. So it could say lift is busy or lift in motion. And then it's just going to end the script right there. It's going to return and it's going to just keep moving. So if it is currently stationary, it's not moving at all, and you activate it, you've got if move to ref is true. So basically, if we want to use the first easier method, we can just state a specific reference to move it to. So we can add another spacer up here and say I want to move it to that one. That's the method that you can use there. Or if it's not true, what it'll do is you'll state the very specific coordinates that you want to move it to, which is the way that I'm probably going to do it, and I tend to like to do it myself. So if I just sort of lead through what this does, it does mostly the same thing on each of them, just slightly different. So it will show a debug notification at the minute that's commented out. If you start having trouble with this script yourself, you can edit it and put these in to see exactly what it's doing and when, to see where you're going wrong. It will go to state moving, so as soon as it starts moving, it'll go to that state, meaning if you activate it again before it puts the state back, it'll give you that message box there. And then you've got state global set value to 1, so it knows that when this finishes, it's going to be at the top rather than the bottom. It will start off the sound, and then it will translate it, so translate ref to specific location at a specific speed and a specific rotation is where it's going to move to. And then it will wait the amount of time that it takes. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to actually have to get this working, go in game, and then you're going to have to count from when it moves to when it stops, so that you know exactly what the time is, so it'll know when to stop the sound and when to go to a stationary state. So this is going to take a little bit of trial and error. However, I've been doing this before I've started the tutorial, and I know what my values are going to be already, so don't have to keep jumping in and out. We'll be here all day. So it's just going to start the sound, stop the sound, start the motion, stop the motion, and do the relevant states. And then it's just going to go back the opposite direction. Now, it's a bit different here with translate ref, because you need to just state the original coordinates if you want it to go backwards. Or you could have this as a secondary location ref where it originally is. It's entirely up to you. And then this is just the other way, which is just change to specify the coordinates manually. And that is the script. It's actually fairly simple when you go through it. It just looks really hellish because of how long it is, but it's dead simple. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start filling in the properties in a moment. First of all, you're obviously going to want your object. So what I've got here, I've got a spacer here. This needs to move up and go to the top. Now, if I wanted this to go to a specific reference, I could just duplicate it. I will shift it up here. And in fact, you're going to need to do this anyway. So this could be my second reference. I could give it a reference ID if I want. But I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to show you working both ways, but I'm going to do it the way where I specify specific coordinates. So what I tend to do as a trick is I will duplicate it as I've done. I'll put it to where I want that one to go. I'll double click on it. And I'm just going to go across to 3D data. So these are the coordinates that you're going to need to be typing in. Now, luckily, I have done this in such a way that's going to make this tutorial dead simple. I've made everything in the dead center of the cell, and the only difference is going to be the Z position axis. Now, for yourself, you're probably going to have this placed in a certain position in your mod, and all these values are going to be very different. So you're going to have to make sure that you copy all these values. We'll see that in a moment. But I need to keep sort of noted down on the notepad or something these exact values. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to dump it on a notepad off screen, and I'm going to keep check of what those are. So once I know the position where I want it to move to, I'm going to delete that because I don't actually want that there in the way. I only want one lift that's going to move. So I'm going to go and edit the script now. Go into scripts. Got to add it back in. I didn't actually save it. So I'm going to add my translate script in, and I'm going to start filling in the properties. So first of all, the message when it's currently in use, I'm just going to say lift busy. Location ref, I'm not going to use that just yet. We'll show that afterwards. Move to reference. Oops. I'm going to keep that as false. By default, it goes to true. I do believe I set it to. So it'll actually do doing it to a specific reference, as I imagine that's how a lot of people are going to want to do it. But I'm going to have that as false, so unticked. Then I'm just going to go translate ref. I'm just going to quickly select the thing I want to move. So it's going to be that spacer. Make sure you've selected the right thing, or you're going to see something weird happen. And if we just go to the top, so my positions here, so you have pos x1, pos x2. So number 1 is the first location, and anything with 2 is the second location it's going to go to. Now, as it is, most of these were zeros, but you're going to have to copy these exactly how they are. So for me, it's only the Z positions that are really different. So I'm just going to double click on this and I will get the data of this. The Z position of position 1, so the first position is that. So I'm going to set that to exactly what it is. I'll paste that in. And position 2, you get that value that I kept saved on my notepad. That's 592. And then the rotation, you can have this spin as it moves and spin into a different rotation position, but I'm not going to bother. I'm going to leave it as what it is. And if you do want it to stay exactly at what rotation it is, these values might be different. Keep it as exactly what it is. So you need to copy all these values across basically. Now sound effects I'm going to leave for a moment. Speed value, I'm going to have this go at a speed of 70. This is all going to be very much so trial and error, because you might find that it goes too fast or too quick or it barely moves. I find that a value between 50 and 100 is a fair speed, something to work off to start with. So I'm going to put 70 and you'll see what speed it goes at when we go in game. State global, we obviously want the global that I created. And then time, I've discovered that it takes 8.5 seconds at that speed to reach the top, so my sounds are right. Now for the sound, it gets a little awkward. Certain sounds in the creation kit will exist in sound description, but they won't actually have their own marker. So what we're going to be filling in here is a sound marker. Now if you find something in sound description, is it description? It's not description, is it? It's descriptor. I say description for some reason. If you find a sound descriptor that is in here but not as a marker, you're just going to have to go ahead and create it. And I've got to do that in a second, so you'll see me do it. But you're just going to sound descriptor to listen to them all. So you can hit edit, play them, and check them out. Now I'm not going to do that right now because there's an issue with the creation kit for some people on Windows 10 like myself, where you have to disable the audio, otherwise it crashes every 15 minutes. But that aside, just make sure that you've got your audio enabled if you need to run through these. That's a different video entirely. But you'll go through these, find out whatever sounds you want, or you can go ahead and create your own and import them in. And then you will fill them in here. So first of all, I know that the one sound I've already got available is, let me have a look, it's one of these. So rumble, that's the one I want to use there. And end, I don't actually have as a sound marker, so I need to find it in here. So let me just copy that from my notepad. This is the one that I want to use. So I'm going to go to sound marker and new. And I'm going to create a sound marker for it. In fact, I might as well give it its own reference. There we go, so it's easy to find. And then just type that in. Because that's like a nice big thud sound. I'm just going to confirm that and reopen it, because otherwise it doesn't save the changes. And I'm going to use that sound there. So I've got both sounds that I want to use. Rotation, I'm going to leave as 0. I don't want it to turn at all at any speed. That's the speed that it goes for rotation. And I'm going to leave that location ref for now because I'm not using that method. Now to save me having to fill all of those in again for this button, I'm just going to delete this one and I'm going to make a copy of the one I've already done, because it's going to be the same for each. And I want them rotated. They look a lot better rotated. So I'm going to do that. Now, one other thing that you really need to do now, which I almost forgot actually, is we have a static item here. Now, if it's static, it is not going to do anything at all. It's not going to move. So what you need to do is get your model here. You need to select this. You need to copy it. And you're going to need to make this a movable static. So you want to go ahead, create new, and you're going to want to turn this into a movable static. So, whoops, CTR, that's a habit. And we're going to have MS spacer. So it's going to be a movable static spacer. I'm going to get a model, edit that, make sure I'm under meshes, and paste that in. Okay, make sure we've got our spacer there. And then I'm going to click on this, and I'm now going to hold Control and F to replace it. you'll find this menu comes up pretty quickly. And then I'm going to untick same base object type. Just going to give that a few seconds. And I'm going to click in replace with. And I'm just going to start typing the name of that replacement version. So df127 ms spacer, hit OK and make it movable. So if you don't make it movable static, it's not going to move at all. So now we can go in game and we can test this out, and I will show you what happens when we don't have the collision moving with it and we haven't made any changes to the mesh. So I'm just going to hit that and load up the game. Okay, so here we are in game, and if I just go up to my lift here and I hit the activate button, back off for a second, you see I've got my debug messages going there. I think I've got to comment a couple out. And as you can see, I've timed it absolutely perfect, but that is going to take a lot of trial and error when you're doing your own thing. You're going to have to make sure that you get the timing right for the sound and such. And it appears to work perfectly fine. So if I just hit that again. The sound's not brilliant for the movement, but you can find your own sound anyway. However, if I just move that again, it may have appeared to work, but the collision hasn't moved with it. So this is where we are going to need an additional step in Nifskope, or it's going to be a little broken. So I'm going to go into Nifskope now, and I'm going to show you how to fix this. Okay, so I'm going to need to use Nifskope to change a vanilla mesh, in which case I need all of my vanilla meshes unpacking from their BSAs. If you need to know how to do that, go ahead and check out the video at the top right of the screen now. So I've already gone ahead and done so. Like I say, I'm going to go to BSA opt out. I'm going to go to meshes, dungeons, Dwemer, facades, down to the bottom, and open the mesh that I was working with, Dwemer facade tower spacer. So I'm going to open this up. And I'm using Nifskope Pre-Alpha 5. It shouldn't really matter what version you're using. I'm going to go under Collision Object, Rigid Body, and I'm going to change under Havoc Coal Filter. Some of this might be a little different depending on the mesh that you're changing. I'm going to go under Layer, Static, and I'm going to change this to Anim Static. And I'm going to do the same under Havoc Coal Filter Copy, change Static to Anim Static. And I'm going to go down a little bit more, and I'm going to go under Motion System, where it says MoSys Box Stabilized. I'm going to change this to MoSys Box without the stabilized. And that is about all you really need to do. So obviously I'm going to save this as its own mesh. So I'm going to navigate under my Skyrim directory. I'm going under Meshes, and I'm going to put it in Tutorial. As you can see, I've got a test version here I was working with. So I'm going to overwrite that to show you that this works. And I'm going to come out of here, but now because we're using a different mesh, we're obviously going to need to go into the creation kit, double click onto our movable static, and we need to change the model path. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that, and I'm going to navigate to the mesh that I've just created. So Dwemer facade tower spacer, and I'm going to use that one. Click OK and everything, hit save, and now I'm going to go in game and show you that working. Okay, so here we are back in game, and I'm just going to show you this working now with the collision that will move with it. So I'm going to activate the button, and I'm moving with it, which is just awesome. So don't worry about the debug messages at the top left. I'll actually, when I release the script, I'll make sure those are commented out by default. But like I say, they are very useful if you need to test why things aren't working, to see if the script's firing off correctly and if the states are changing. And I should be able to move back down with this button. And what I'm just going to show you now before we end is what happens if you try activating the button when it's moving. You'll see that it says that the lift is currently busy. Oh, there we go. So the timer on that isn't quite right. It needs a little bit of time. But again, you can change this. It takes a little bit of trial and error. And that's actually what happens if you activate it before it's got to the end. It seems like it just changes its direction anyway, which is kind of cool. But yeah, awesome. That works. And there we go, we have a fully working lift, and again you can use this for whatever you want. It might just take a little bit of tweaking from the script, and you can also use the other method where you translate one object to another. So it's used in the game where there's stuff that comes out of the ground from under some water and such, and it comes up. So you can use it for all sorts of different things. Like I say, I've used it for Corinthian Tower Reborn with the tower coming out of the mountain and such. So there we go. And that is it for another Scrum Creation Kit tutorial video, so I hope you found it useful. Please let me know in the comment section below. You can, of course, go ahead and check everything out over on my website at www.darkfox127.co.uk. Everything that you're going to need in regards to this video is in the comment section down below as well, in the description. So the links that you need, including the script, you can go ahead and find it there. And please be sure to go ahead and check me out on social media, especially Discord, where we've got a great little community coming together, where you can go ahead and share mods, help each other out with mods, and just general chit chat. So that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will speak to you next time.